Amid growing unease about the federalist project, speculation has arisen that countries like Hungary or Poland could be next to leave the bloc, HTIC reports. Bookmakers William Hill have brought out a series of odds on which country could be next to bow out of the EU. There's the option of making some pretty dicey bets on countries that seem secure in the EU, like Luxembourg at 1501, Latvia at 1001, or Belgium at 661, but if you want a safer bet, these 8 countries are considered the most likely to leave the EU next. 8. Denmark-like Britain in the EU. Denmark has constantly demanded exceptions from EU law. It uses its own currency, the krone, after opting out of the Eurozone. In a decisive referendum, then-Prime Minister Helle Thorningschmidt also managed to negotiate a budgetary rebate for Denmark in October 2012, and it has been warned by the EU for breaching the Schengen Treaty, a move that shows a lot more independent-mindedness than the EU typically appreciates. William Hill gives 161 odds on Denmark being next to quit. Getty. Brexit could tell EU apart, with other countries more likely to depart than ever. 7. Czech Republic. Czech elections in October were characterized by the rise of the far-right, anti-European Freedom and Direct Democracy Party, who won 22 seats, entering parliament for the first time. And Eurosceptic ODS became the country's second-largest party, meaning there's significant representation for anti-EU politicians in Czech Republic's parliament. The bookmaker gives 161 odds on Czech Republic being next to quit. Getty. An odd couple. Czech President Andrej Babiš with EU's Verhofstadt 6. Ireland. Britain's Europhile neighbour might not seem like the most likely candidate to quit the EU immediately. After Taoiseach Leo Varadkar threatened to stall Brexit negotiations without guarantees on a hard border, Ireland seems pretty committed to the bloc. However, as the impacts of Brexit on the EU become clearer, it's likely Ireland will be one of the hardest-hit countries. If its economy is sunk by Britain leaving the trading bloc, Ireland could be the first country to follow us out of the Union. William Hill gives 121 odds on Ireland being next to quit. Getty. Taoiseach Leo Varadkar could be the first to lead his country out of the EU after Theresa May. 5. Hungary. 61% of Hungarians have a favourable view of the EU, according to a 2016 poll by the Pew Research Centre, which asked 10,491 EU citizens for their views on the bloc. However, the same cannot be said of the country's leader, Viktor Orban, or its ruling party, Fidesz. Mr. Orban's virulently anti-immigration party is no fan of European freedom of movement, and has clashed with the EU leadership more than once. He is set to win re-election later this year, which could give him a mandate to retreat from Europe. William Hill gives 121 odds on Hungary being next to quit. Getty. Hungary's anti-EU leader Viktor Orban could cause problems for France as Emmanuel Macron steps into the spotlight as the new figurehead of the EU. France might seem like the epitome of a Europhile country, but his prominence in the EU masks widespread dissent with a federalist project across France, as well as concerns about free movement. The Pew Research Centre poll in 2016 showed that 61% of French have a negative view of the EU, and Marine Le Pen's success with voters in the presidential election shows plenty are tempted by anti-EU, anti-globalization views. William Hill gives 101 odds on France being next to quit. Getty. Emmanuel Macron may be the poster boy for federalism, but France is not convinced. 3. Sweden. The rise of Euroscepticism in Sweden is tipping the balance to an overall unfavorable view of the EU, the Pew survey shows. In 2016, 44% of Swedes had an unfavorable view of the EU, while 54% looked on the bloc favorably. William Hill gives 101 odds on Sweden being next to quit. Monday, October 23, 2017. Austria. The hard-right Freedom Party FPO has previously been accused of xenophobia and racism. 2. Italy. A total of 59% of Italians have a positive view of the EU, while 39% see it in a negative light. That might seem pretty Europhile, but the growth of the country's five-star movement MS5 would suggest there are some deeper issues. Polls suggest MS5 could become the largest party in the next election, dramatically raising the odds of quit Italy. William Hill gives 52 odds on Italy being next to quit. Getty. Beppe Grillo's five-star movement could become the largest Party 1 Greece. Unsurprisingly, given its well-documented euro woes, Greece tops the list of countries likely to be next to quit the EU. Greece has already contemplated leaving the European single currency, back in 2015, when a summer of dissent resulted in bank closures and economic downturn. The official position is that there's no leaving the euro without leaving the EU, however that may not bother most Greeks, as 71% said they had an unfavorable view of the EU in the Pew Research poll. William Hill gives 21 odds on Greece being next to quit. All odds were correct as of November 25, 2017.